You are in the middle of a serious argument, or maybe you just watched someone take a nasty fall on the sidewalk, and then the worst possible thing happens. A laugh bubbles up in your throat. Your immediate reaction is mortification. You try to swallow it down, wondering why your own brain is betraying you in a moment that clearly calls for empathy or gravity. To understand what is actually happening in your head, picture your nervous system as a tightly sealed pressure cooker. When you experience intense stress, awkwardness, or even pain, the steam inside that cooker builds up fast. If it stays trapped, it throws your internal chemistry out of balance. So your brain automatically pops a release valve in the form of a laugh to vent the pressure. Laughter is a vital biological survival mechanism used to vent overwhelming pressure and protect the nervous system from internal overload. Psychologists call this specific reaction nervous laughter. It serves as your brain's first line of defense when you are cornered by intense social or emotional stress. We can see exactly how this works by looking at the obedience experiments conducted at Yale University in the early 1960s. In these studies, researcher Stanley Milgram instructed volunteers to deliver electric shocks to strangers in another room. As the experiment went on, the volunteers heard what sounded like screams of pain, and their own anxiety and stress levels skyrocketed. The volunteers were visibly distressed. They sweat, they trembled, and yet as the perceived suffering of the victims escalated, many of the subjects began to laugh uncontrollably. These subjects were experiencing intense psychological overload. In these high-stress moments, the brain forces a laugh to physically lower the heart rate, tricking itself into believing the horrifying environment isn't actually a threat. This same mechanism applies to physical distress. If you stub your toe on a coffee table and start chuckling, that laughter is actually working to reduce how much your foot hurts. Neuroscientist Dr. V.S. Ramachandran studied this connection and proposed the false alarm theory. Imagine early humans foraging in the woods. They hear a sudden rustle in the bushes, and their bodies instantly flood with a terrified fight or flight response. But then, a harmless rabbit hops out. The humans laugh. That sound immediately signals a false alarm to the rest of the tribe, letting everyone know they are safe. Dr. Ramachandran points to the clinical case of a woman who suffered a severe head injury. Whenever doctors tested her pain response by poking her hand with a pin, she laughed uncontrollably. The injury had caused a highly specific neurological glitch. Her brain still felt the physical pain, but the pathway that communicated threat had been severed. Because the brain registered the pinprick as a non-threatening false alarm, it forced a laugh. That physical act of laughing triggers a flood of endogenous opioids directly into the bloodstream. Endogenous opioids are the body's natural, built-in painkillers, chemically similar to morphine, which work to immediately soothe physical discomfort. Laughter acts as a self-administered drug, deployed by the brain to help the body survive physical injuries and acute distress. We know this pressure valve is a mechanical feature of the brain because we can observe what happens when it gets permanently stuck in the open position. There is a specific condition called pseudobulbar affect, or PBA. PBA is a neurological disorder characterized by brief, intense, and completely uncontrollable episodes of crying or laughing. Because laughter is an involuntary physical reflex, severe brain injuries, dementia, or strokes can physically cross the neural wires. When this happens, it triggers bouts of laughter that completely contradict the person's actual internal mood. Conditions like PBA prove that laughter is deeply wired into our biology. It operates entirely independent of our sense of humor. When we look at the neurology, laughter reveals itself as a sophisticated evolutionary shield. It is a versatile tool that defends us against overwhelming emotional anxiety, acts as a rapid-release natural painkiller, and signals safety and peace to the people around us. So the next time an awkward chuckle escapes your lips in a tense, quiet room, or right after you trip on the stairs, there is absolutely no need to be embarrassed. An inappropriate laugh is simply your brain's pressure valve doing its job, venting the steam to keep you safe.